Hey, I'm alive. This is Grant's shop. Welcome, Mad Modelers. Anybody out there yet? Okay, we'll give it a minute. This is supposed to be a Gillo Cessna 170 kit. I call it a squirrel because I'm supposed to be working on my soft with camel. However, I'm chasing a squirrel. I do this a lot. Anyway, if you guys are watching me and not watching the Kardashians, that is a very positive life choice there. Honest. I was told, I'm a bit chubby, so if it looks like just a pair of arms moving, it's because I'm wearing a dark shirt. It's supposed to, dark color is supposed to make you look thinner. I had a friend of mine tell me I need to wear a singularity. That wasn't very funny. Anyway, okay. Oh, see, we got anybody watching yet? Been on there for 1 minute and 26 seconds, and I got no thumbs up, no thumbs down. Well, that's good, no thumbs down. There's somebody that keeps putting a thumb down on every one of my videos. I don't know if he's just a troll, a turd, or a jerk. So you pick one of the three. I mean, you've got something wrong with my videos, leave me a comment. I'm open to any kind of criticism as long as, it's fair. You come across like a know-it-all, I'm going to get rid of your comments. I've had a couple of them do that. So these are probably the people that know a hell of a lot, but can't do a damn thing, if you know what I mean. All right, so anyway, with the build, this is the Gillo Cessna 170. I'm going to convert it to radio control. We're going to use this onboard, 2 servos, linear servos on board. It's got a gyro on it, and this is going to be our basis. Actually, this airplane, this model is going to be built differently than the ones that I've seen on YouTube, in that I'm going to make this really scaled out, and I'm going to try to do it within a weight limit that will still allow it to fly. So we're going to be doing some really different stuff. One thing we're doing, I don't know if the camera will pick that up. Will it? Maybe not. No, that's a little piece of wire on the end of a piece of carbon fiber rod. That's going to be going into the servos. It's wrapped with black thread and super glued. So that's what I have here on the board itself. Yeah, this camera's not picking it up, is it? Yeah, maybe someday if I get monetized, I'll be able to afford some better camera equipment. So this is going to slide down inside here. Yeah, right. Just slide it down in. Yeah, This is like trying to shove a chimpanzee down the toilet. He's not going to go. The rods have got to kind of cross. I got to get the right rod crossed in the right spot. Hey, we got it. We got it. If you're going to build something like this, word to the wise, don't put all the stringers on it. I found this is like building a ship in a bottle. I've done that before. I don't want to do it again, but this is what I've got so far. The receiver will sit right there. It'll get hot glued in place. The landing gear has been altered. It's now running up against this bulkhead. You can just barely see the wire there. So it goes across that bulkhead and comes down here where it's got some plywood that backs it up. Now, in order to do the push rods, on the back side, I got to drop it all the way down, and I'm going to put some ends on here, and I'm going to wrap them with thread. The other way to do it would be to use some heat shrink tubing across the wire and this, and I might even do that trick on this end, because that way I can put it on there. I can heat shrink the tube around the wire and the carbon fiber rod, and then just leave it that way. And when I get the model together, then I can let the servos center, and I can put those exactly where they're supposed to go, make sure my control surfaces are absolutely neutral, and then just a little drop of thin CA down in there, and that will lock them in. That's a good idea. I think that's what I'm going to do. And I can even do that later on too. So our next little trick is for me to get these wires out without too much profanity. God, you Frankie snot. All right, there we go. Got it. Yeah, I think I can do that. I think I can actually hot glue that in place where it's at. And then I can lock those push rods in at a later date, because I need to put some push rod exits on here. Next step 2 would be to figure out where exactly batteries and stuff are going to be placed. Right now, I'm going to go with these 280 or 300 milliamp jobs, and it looks like they're going to sit right about here. Let me show you why I think that. Where is that other one? Oh, by the way, the motor that we're using is this little guy. It is an E-flite 1404-2500 kV. This thing came off of this airplane that was beat up. Somehow the electronics went sour, and I pulled it out of the trash. Believe it or not, the escapements or the ESCs and motors are in good shape. I don't know why I called it an escapement. Anybody remember the old escapements? The rubber band that you wound up, and oh yeah, you got to be at least 500 centuries old to remember that. What did I do with that dog? Better not have taken it outside. Somewhere around here, I have one of these that I built many years ago. I have this husky dog that likes to snitch stuff and go play with it. If I've been playing with it, he has to play with it. I have found some unusual things in the backyard. Why can't I find my fuselage? Okay, anyway. I'll have to find it later. I'll probably have to go out in the backyard and find it tomorrow in the daylight. Okay, so I built one of these before. Here's the wing to it. I covered it in chrome monocoat, and this is aluminum duct tape on cardstock. I kind of like that look, but I don't like how thick it is on the backside. So we're going to do things a little bit different. We're going to build this with this wing rib and this one and the tip. Through here, I'm going to put some Depron foam in there and glue it in with some Gorilla Glue, and we're going to sand the front of the airfoil in. Then we can put the chrome monocoat across it. And you might notice too that looks like rivets in there. Those aren't rivets. That was from a woman's dress pattern carrier outer thinger. It looks like a little teeny tiny spur for a G.I. Joe or something. All you do is run that along, and it pokes these little holes or puts these little dents in there that make it look like rivets. Another cool effect is you can put some masking tape on here on a panel. It takes a double-aught steel wool, and you can actually burnish a grain into it. And then the adjoining panel, you burnish it the other way. I'll tell you what, that makes the coolest effect in the air, because you can see the different panels showing up as the plane flies. It is really, really cool. This airplane, I'm going to do a series on this airplane because we're going to try a bunch of different methods to cover this thing in a bright, shiny aluminum. I've got some of this K&S, I believe it's like 5 thou or 8 thou thick, 5 thou thick aluminum foil. It's about the thickness of one of those turkey basting pans. But we're going to use this instead of the aluminum duct tape. We're going to use it in certain areas. We might make a door out of it. Just little areas. The tail surfaces will be done with it. The movable surfaces with the ribs, because the Cessnas had those ribs on the ailerons and the flaps of the tail surfaces. Well, that's what we're going to try to do with this foil, but we're going to glue it to some 64th inch thick plywood to give it a solid back, but to thin out this trailing edge too. On the other Cessna 170 that I had built, hi, Bill. Yeah, I had no idea I was going to go live too until about 10 minutes ago. I figured as long as I'm downstairs talking to myself, I might as well talk to the world. So, hey, if you got any questions, pop them up there. So, anyway, the one that I built years ago, like this, turned out to be like 64 grams or something like that, and it had the little micro servos and everything in there. So I hope to get some weight out of it. We're going to go with these little linear servos, Spectrum linear servos. And my other plane was powered by a little Cox 020 engine. So I'm pretty sure I can get some weight off of that. One way to do it, to get the weight off these things, is after you get the side keel on this piece and the top and bottom keels, to go in, if you got a Dremel moto tool, hog out some of these bulkheads so that you can get, if you take out, let's say this is center gravity's here, and this is 5 times the different distance from the center of gravity back here to the tail as it is from here to the nose, then 1 ounce of weight back here would mean 5 ounces of weight in the nose to get it to balance. So whatever bit you can take off of the back, you can really save your plane a lot of weight, because I see a lot of modelers build and then have to put a lot of nose weight in. Well, if you build them in mind with keeping the weight as far forward as possible, if it does turn out nose heavy, then it only takes a little bit of weight in the back to get it to balance. So we're going to make a bulkhead that goes in here. This bottom part will be a hatch, and it will be doweled in on one end. So you're going to put it in like this, and then magnets will hold it up. That way you have access to the battery. And that battery is going to sit about here. I've already figured that out, where this stuff's going to sit, because I took the 020 out of my other Cessna and put the electric on there and figured out that, I'm going to need to put the battery up as far forward as I can get. And it still might need some nose weight. If you're going to build a model like this, these are really neat little motors, but the problem is this front threaded area is so short that it tends to rub inside the cowl. There's not a lot of room in there. I wish this camera could get a better close-up. So what I've done is I took the little E-ring off and pulled this shaft and everything out, and I put it on my lathe, and I cut, I don't know if you can see the silver part, I cut it back a little bit just to give me a little bit more clearance. Between that and the back side of the prop, standing a little bit proud, it will just barely miss. And this is, like I said, this is off that little tri-engine deal that will hover and do all kinds of fun stuff. That's going to look pretty good. The prop, I got the prop, ordered it from for the UMX Pit Special. I have a UMX Pit Special, and it has the 2200 kV motor on it. So I'm pretty sure this 2500 kV is really going to get this thing ripping through the air, even with 2 cells. If I have to have nose weight, then I might add a 3-cell battery. That would give me more weight and more power at the same time. So, am I boring everybody yet? So I got 1 thumbs up, 1 person live. It's got to be Bill. Escapements. Oh, yeah, you know what escapements are. Yeah, that's pretty funny. You ever get a chance, you newbies to the hobby, you need to get onto some of these YouTube sites that talk about the old rubber escapement. I'll tell you what, those guys were very innovative. Very innovative. All right. Some of the covering that I'm going to do on this plane, I don't like that faceted Gillows look. So what I want to do is I'm going to leave the flat areas open. But on these areas that are rounded, I'm going to use some 1/32 inch balsa in places. And I'm going to use some 1/64 inch plywood in some places. And some areas, like this area, I'm going to use some maybe 16th inch and go in between the stringers here and here, and then I'll sand it, because this goes from like a 90-degree bend to a radius. And on the real aircraft, it's actually shorter than this. It goes up to here, and then the rest of it's radius from here all the way back. So this area is going to be a problem, because you try to bend that plywood or that balsa wood, it's going to split every time, even with water and alcohol, whatever. So if I put some soft, lightweight balsa in here, then I can sand it around, and I'll still have some left. And then cardstock, use a manila folder too for some of this. So we're going to see how light I can get this thing to turn out. You're not bored yet, huh? Well, yeah, I don't build many of them this size either. If you're on my Grant Shop YouTube channel, you'll see that my latest project's been a 1/4 scale Sopwith Camel. And yeah, I've been working on that for 7 years, but it has become uber scale. And I am seriously toying with the idea of building a running Clerget 9-cylinder rotary engine for it. I have the abilities. I have the equipment. It's just going to take some time to do it. But I'm pretty sure if I do, it will catapult that airplane to worldwide fame. If you have not seen that build, you may want to check it out. I'm almost done with it, except for the dummy radial engine up front. I'm getting down to the point where I need to build that little air pump that sits on the rear right cabane strut. I'm not a big fan of 3D printing. I think it has its place, but in real scale aircraft, I think you need to make those parts out of real metal. So what I've done is I've modeled up that air pump, and I'm only going to use the bottom of it. I've already 3D printed the bottom casing, and I'm going to make a mold, and I'm going to cast it out of aluminum. I already have 2 bearings on the prop shaft so that it spins freely. So anyway, anybody else? What are you guys building out there? Maybe next time I ought to announce I'm going to go live, huh? I know. There's people out there going to say, well, wait a minute. As far as we're concerned, you're still dead. Oh, very funny. Haha. No, that wasn't a comment somebody left. All right. The wire that I'm using on this is, I'll bet it's only 10 thou. I'm using a pair of hemostats to bend it. As I'm building this airplane, I am making duplicate parts and I'm throwing them in a box that's going to be a care package headed to Canada for a young man that's going to build his first RC. But he's got the mindset that he wants to build something very scale. He has the Gillows Hellcat kit. You started a quarter scale Bentley rotary engine but never finished it? Oh, dude. Yeah, the valve train and everything in that Bentley is almost identical to the Clerget. That is cool. If you got any information on that, send it to me because I'm looking for information. I'm thinking about using some off-the-shelf pistons, valves, valve springs, maybe. I'm planning on maybe making my cylinders out of chromoly steel tube pressed into aluminum cylinders themselves. So if I can get away with using off-the-shelf parts, then why not, huh? Especially valves. I'm thinking Sato may have some pistons and valves that I can use. Quarter scale Bentley. Wow. It's too bad the Camel doesn't use the Bentley. I'd offer you some money for that. But that's cool. I didn't think anybody around here would be up on that part of it. I mean, as far as building an engine. I have, if you're familiar with the old Morton M5, I have one of those that I've been restoring. I've got the rotating components finished. I was in the process of gapping the rings and gapping the rings, and I've got the pistons turned to size. What else was I going to do it? Anyway, I was working fast and furious on that, and then all of a sudden I found another squirrel to chase. So what I've done here, this is going to be extremely difficult to see, but see that small loop in this wire? I'm sure this is only 5 or 7 thou wire. Put my hand behind there. That will enable me to adjust the length of this at the control surface end. And then this much of it will be pushed onto the carbon fiber rod. So as I do this, like I said, I'm making duplicate parts for this young man that wants to build. By the way, if anybody knows where we can find a decent used Spectrum 5-channel or better, let me know, because he has yet to, he is really not, he's poor. He's just about broke, but he's got the drive. And since he's got the drive, I am going to support it as much as I can. I'm sending him a whole bunch of stuff, some extra balsa and ply and tools that I have around that I'm not using. And I love to see people build, especially new people, young people, instead of playing video games. So I'm going to do whatever I can to help him out. Like I said, if you know somebody with a Spectrum radio, then let me know. I wished I had an extra, or I don't. I fly mostly JR stuff. Now I'm going to have to make 4 of these, 2 for me and 2 for him. So now there's 2 people watching, huh? Oh, it's too bad you can't find that book. Oh well. There is some pretty good information on the internet. Some guy, JP something, has documented the Bentley and the Clerget and the Gnome and the Larone. I don't think he's done the Overursel yet, but he's got the drawings for this full-size engine available for download, but he's got to make sure it's actually you before he lets you download it. So I've sent him an email, and I'm hoping to hear a response from him, so at least I can get the full-size plans. Oh, some guy in Sandy. All right. So how you getting along there, buddy? Yeah, I just kind of bored tonight. I figure if I'm going to talk to myself, maybe I can put it to good use and bore somebody else. If you guys want me to go live more often, just let me know. I mean, if I get a bunch of people asking the same question, I wouldn't mind going live and answering some of these questions. You know, plan on a certain night, and you guys can hit me up on the stuff. I mean, I'm not the answer guy for RC stuff, but I have been building for 55 years. So what I'm doing here is bending control rod ends. And they are super tiny, about the width of a human hair. So we're trying to keep this model as light as possible. Can't do a Futaba because we need the Spectrum so that it binds with the Spectrum receiver. Because we're going this route with the little micro receiver and gyro and the 2 linear servos on the board. Otherwise, I could set him up with something else. But we need something that will bind to the DSX systems. All right, Bill. I mean, don't go out and don't kill yourself to go find it. It just, if you come across it, because I know in looking at some of that stuff that, like I said, the Bentley and the Clerget are almost identical from the case where the pistons mount forward. The cam or valve system that they use was really quite clever. So that would be kind of cool to get that information. Then I can model it up and plot some tool paths and to cut some of those hard to make parts on my little CNC mill. Hey, that'd be great. That would be great. Some guy in Sandy, that would be fantastic. This kid he really wants to do this. He has got all kinds of ideas. Well, let me back up. Somebody gave him the Gillows Hellcat, the big one. And he got on my Facebook group, Scale Flying Model Building Techniques, and was asking if a 36-inch wingspan Hellcat would be all right to fly at 20 some odd pounds. I was like, dude, what are you making it out of, lead? Well, what he was doing was he was taking the full-size airplane and scaling it down. Well, there's some really ignorant people in the world, and they started laughing at him. I'm like, I got a hold of him. I says, look, I'll deal with you one-on-one. First of all, we need to talk about scaling stuff up or down. It doesn't work as, you just multiply or divide by a certain number. I says, your airplane, you need to have come in at less than a pound. Honest. And that's just off the top of my head. Actually, it should be as light as you can possibly build it. But he already has ideas on how he wants the flaps to work and the landing gear and all this other stuff. He's I get it, he's pretty intelligent, but just does not have the means. So I'm trying to do what I can to help him along. By the way, Sandy guy, this is not an airplane. This is a squirrel. I'm chasing another squirrel. Yep, I do that a lot. Oh, yeah, and here's its bigger squirrel brother. This is an old Jetco Cessna 170. I got it at a yard sale. I mean, it was half built, beat up, but I thought, 36-inch wing, that's going to make a real cool plane. And I'm not going to make it a 170. I'm going to make it a 180. That way I can put floats or skis or whatever on it. Thanks, Sandy guy. All right. Yeah, see, this little care kit here is going to that guy, that Robbie up in Canada. He's half, well, it would be Native American or Native Indian. So I don't mind, but he does live on like a reservation, and there's not a lot of job opportunities there. So anything you guys are wondering about? Otherwise, I'm going to sit here and scratch my head and say foul words at this little project. I might as well hot glue that receiver in place. Like I said, I should never put all the stringers and everything on it. At least leave these side pieces off until I get done in here. Yeah, I plan on putting seats and everything in here too, made out of Depron foam. That ought to be light. Gnat fart light. My dog. There's dog. There's my building buddy. You my building buddy? Are you? Hey, kitty. I'll get him. What? Go chase the kitty. No, go chase the cat. You're pestering me. Let's see, I could work on an engine mount. So I've got an aluminum mount that this goes into. It's got, the 4 screws, but I was toying with the idea of making something that just clamps on here so that when I have the hatch and everything on there, I can unscrew it from down below and pull the motor. Maybe. I don't know. I got to think these things through. Half the time I don't. That's why I get into trouble. Yeah, I still, I don't know about you guys, but I look at these things like, oh yeah, I could do this and I could do that, and my brain builds this airplane overnight. But when it comes down to building it for real, wow, I sure do go slow. I agree, Bill. I think somebody did work on both engines. Yeah, I think the tail surfaces on this airplane I'm going to again make out of Depron foam, just so that when I cover it, and I'm thinking about using Gorilla Glue and aluminum foil, cover it with the aluminum foil, the Depron foam will keep the aluminum from denting. And I may just use the chrome monocoat like this one. But either way, I can use either one over the Depron. So it ought to be pretty light. Buddy, I hope you didn't take the fuselage to my plane. Usually when something's missing from up here, it's because you've got it or you took it outside to play with. Uh-huh. All my screwdrivers have extra knurling on the handles. Yeah, well, I think I've talked enough for tonight. So you guys get a hold of me if you want me to do another live episode at some point. Because I'm gonna turn on some good music. Let's see, tonight's building music. What can I use for? Oh, probably Beethoven. When I get to working with the aircraft dope, that's definitely a Pink Floyd night. Uh-huh. All right, you guys take care. See how I shut this thing off.